Hello Year 8, it's Miss Moore here for lesson 58 and we are doing making ice cream today. You're actually going to be making some of your own ice cream. This lesson also covers melting and freezing points. So once you've written down the title and that it's lesson 58, I'd like you to have a little think to yourself, what actually is melting? What is freezing? What are the scientific senses of both of those terms? Okay, so after your thoughts, how close did you get? Melting is when a solid becomes a liquid, and freezing is when a liquid turns back into a solid. But let's just have a little recap. What do we mean by solid and what do we mean by liquid? I'd like you to draw 3 boxes because in those boxes I would like you to draw the particles of a solid, a liquid and a gas. You will have done this last year. Let's see how well you can remember it. So please draw the particles in a solid, particles in a liquid and the particles in a gas. If you got close to these 3 drawings on the right here, then really very well done. This is known as the particle model. And as you can see here, in a solid, the particles are close together. They do not move very much. All they can do is vibrate because they have low energy. And they are very uniform. They're normally in quite a uniform pattern. A liquid, the particles have got more energy, so they are starting to slide over one another. They are not floating in the air. If you think about a glass of water, you do not have water particles floating up above it. They are still touching each other, but they are sliding over each other. They are no longer in a uniform pattern. Gas particles have the most energy and they are moving around a lot. So they are not touching. If they do touch, they collide and they bounce off each other. If you got close to these 3, that's absolutely brilliant. If you need to make any corrections and draw those out, do that now. But how does this come into ice cream? Well, of course, if we're thinking about making ice cream, we need to be thinking about freezing and melting, because what we're going to be doing is turning a liquid into a solid or a semi-solid. It's still going to be slightly melty and slightly slushy. This is what you're going to need. I did a list on show my homework, but you may want to pause the video and take a picture of this too so that you can get your ingredients together. You need some milk, around about 150 ml. You need the same amount of cream. You can use single or double cream for this. You need about a tablespoonful of sugar and about half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you're using vanilla essence, it's not quite as strong as vanilla extract, so you can use a little bit more, like 1 teaspoon. Any toppings that you might want. But you also need ice and you also need salt, and you need the 2 bags that were included in your science kit. But why do you need salt? We certainly don't want to put the salt in the ice cream, so what is the salt for? Have a little think, please, and make a suggestion. So this is why we need salt. First of all, what's the melting and freezing point of water? How cold does water have to get before it freezes? If you thought to yourself, 0 degrees Celsius, you're absolutely right. However, the melting point of ice cream is actually going to be lower than that because there's fat and sugar, and those will interfere with ice crystals forming. So ice cream needs a colder temperature than 0 degrees Celsius for it to freeze. So we need to lower the melting point of the ice so that it stays frozen long enough to freeze the ice cream mixture. To do that, we're going to add an impurity, because once you add an impurity to something, it tends to lower the melting and freezing point. The impurity that we're going to add in this case is going to be salt. So keep watching, and I'm going to show you the steps to make your own ice cream, and I hope that you have a go at home. Hello, Year 8. Today we are having a go at making our own ice cream. So if you are having a go at this at home, get your ingredients together. What you're going to need is cream and milk. You can use any kind of pouring cream. I've never tried it with whipping cream, but if you've got whipping cream, by all means give it a go. If you're going to make vanilla ice cream, you need vanilla extract or essence. The only difference is going to be how much you add, because one is stronger than the other. I'm going to try a version with chocolate milk as well to see what happens, see if we can make some chocolate ice cream. You need some sugar, you need some salt, And you also need the 2 bags that were provided to you in your science pack. So you should have one big and one small. I'm actually using another small one as well because I'm going to try the chocolate ice cream. So if you've got another small bag that you want to use a different flavour, then get that out now. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to make up our ice cream mixture that's going to actually be frozen into ice cream. So open up whichever bags you're going to use for this, your smaller bag. I'm doing 2 because I'm doing a vanilla and a chocolate. And what you're going to do is pour out 150 ml of your milk first of all. I've got a measuring cup here. You might want to use a measuring jug. The measurements you don't have to be super precise with, as long as you're kind of doing a 50% milk, 50% cream ratio. So I'm putting my milk in there. Make sure your bags don't tip over. And I'm going to use chocolate milk in my other one. Never done this with chocolate milk, so let's see how this turns out. I'm intrigued. I wonder if anyone's going to try it with strawberry milk. Oh, I can't even get the milk open, guys. Oh, I can't get the milk open. Okay. God, strongest milk carton ever. It'd be interesting if someone wanted to try it with strawberry milk or like banana milk, whatever your favourite flavour is. I mean, let's see if this one works first before we start going too crazy with the milk flavours. So I'm going to put my chocolate milk in there. And to each of these, I'm going to add cream as well. I'm going to add the same amount of cream to each one. I've got double cream. Try it with single cream if you have got that, that's fine. I'm going to pop that in for the vanilla. And I'm also going to pop it in the chocolate one as well. Okay. For the vanilla, we need a bit of flavouring. So for that one, I'm going to use vanilla extract. Now, vanilla extract is stronger than vanilla essence. So if you're using vanilla extract, use half as much. So I'm going to use a small teaspoon of vanilla. If you've got essence, you can use maybe a teaspoon and a half. If you want to kind of taste it before you freeze it, then that's a good idea. Chefs should always taste what they've got going on. And for a bit of extra sweetness, we're going to add some sugar as well. I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar to each one. Oh, that's quite a lot of sugar. Okay. So that's actually my ice cream mixture. That's what's going to become our ice cream. This is really, really important. Seal up your bags. Oh, no, I'll tell you what. Push out the air from your bags and then seal them up as tightly as you can. Make sure that there is nothing going to escape from there. You're going to see why in a minute. Same one for this one. I'm going to push out as much air as I can and then seal it up. Okay, so once you've got your ice cream mixtures ready, you need to actually have something to freeze them. And we're going to see how we do that. Okay, next thing you're going to want to do for your big bag is fill it with ice. I'm going to use crushed ice just because I can get it out of the freezer and it's going to make it slightly easier, but we've done this with cubed ice before and it works perfectly fine. So fill your bag probably about 1/3 of the way with ice. I'm going to do that now. Okay, once you've got your bag full of ice, I actually took a look at the ice cream mixture fitting in the ice bag, and I decided to do 2. I felt like it would be a bit squashed, so if you want to do a second ice bag, if you're doing 2 different types of ice cream, then I think that's probably a good idea. We're thinking about the science behind this. So at the moment we've got our ice, which is, as we know, frozen water, and it is a solid. Think to yourself, what is the freezing and the melting point of water? If you thought 0 degrees Celsius, you're absolutely correct, but ice cream, this mixture, isn't going to freeze at 0 degrees because there are impurities in it. There are fats and there are sugars,
and those are going to mess with the formation of ice crystals. So we actually need those to freeze at a lower temperature than this ice. But we don't want this ice to melt before we've made our ice cream. So we need to introduce an impurity to the ice to keep that ice from melting too soon. And the impurity we're going to use for that is salt. So what I'm going to need you to do is take a big tablespoon full of salt and add that to each bag of ice. So I'm getting a big tablespoon of salt. I'm going to put it in bag number 1, sprinkling it all over the ice. And put a big tablespoon of salt in bag number 2. And I'm going to sprinkle it all over the ice. I'm looking at it and I think I could go for a little bit more salt there. So I'm just going to go a little bit more in bag number 1. A little bit more in bag number 2. You don't need to be precise with this. All we're doing is we're making sure that this ice doesn't melt too quickly. We're adding an impurity to it. We're adding salt. Now the next step is why you had to seal these up so well, because these bags are going inside your bags of ice, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of push it down so that it's got ice all surrounding it. And then this one as well. And here's the fun bit. So we're going to seal up our ice bags. No, that didn't work. Let's do that again. Seal up the ice bags. Seal up the ice bags. And what you're going to do is help this ice cream mixture to freeze by moving it around with your hands. This is how they make ice cream. They churn it so that otherwise, if the ice cream mixture is all in one place when it freezes, you get these very long ice crystals, and it's not very nice to eat. But if you churn ice cream as it's freezing, then you get that creamy texture. So you might want to wear something to keep your hands from getting not frozen when you're doing this. You might want to wrap a little cloth around it. I'll grab a tea towel. I will do mine now, and we'll do some churning of the ice cream. So I've got my tea towel to keep my hands from getting too frozen, and I'm just going to churn my ice cream. And churn my ice cream. Give it a churn. Give it a churn. It does need a bit of time to freeze, so if you want to kind of just give it a churn, give it a mix every minute or so, keep coming back to check on it. Don't leave it for too long, make sure your bags aren't leaking. If the ice starts melting, add yourself a little bit more salt. I will see you again in about 10 minutes. I'm going to keep churning this ice cream every minute. Okay, we've been churning for about 5 minutes, and just to show you a little progress update, it's kind of hard to show on video, but it is starting to freeze. So if you want to kind of check, just very gently just kind of feel your ice cream mixture bag through, and you should feel that it's starting to get a bit more solid. So we're going to keep going for another 5 minutes. My fingers are cold. Okay, so we have been churning for about 10 minutes in total. Our ice has pretty much all melted, but that's fine because we are now ready. So you can feel through your bag that your ice cream is frozen. What I'm going to do now is take it out of this bag. There's a lot of salty water on it, so I'm just going to give it a rinse under the cold tap just to get the salty water off. Then I'm going to spoon it from the bag into the bowl. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Right, let's get that salty water off. Pop your ice in the sink. Same thing for this one. I hope everyone was gentle with their bags and they didn't have any spillages. This one hasn't frozen quite as much. Oh, actually the bottom's feeling pretty good there. Right. And, see, ice cream. Okay, so it's not as solid as the ice cream that we'd probably be used to, but we're going to get out as much as we can. Are you going to eat it directly from the bag? I'm not going to judge you if you do. We're just going for presentation here. So I've got some sort of half melted chocolate ice cream there, but that's okay because we're going to eat it within about 5 minutes. And how's our vanilla looking? Pretty good. Pretty good. This is our homemade ice cream from a bag. Add whatever toppings you want. I've grated some chocolate to be fancy. Enjoy.
Brilliant. So before you have a go at making your own ice cream, in this lesson we have recapped the particle model and changing states, as in looking at a liquid turning into a solid, which is freezing, and a solid into a liquid, which is melting. We've also introduced in this lesson how impurities change a melting point. That's something that you're going to be looking at in GCSE. You might want to be thinking about how you've seen this applied in life. You might think about in winter when you see people putting grit on the roads. That's actually rock salt, and what that will do is lower the freezing point of the ice, so it needs to actually be colder for even ice to form. So that's why we put rock salt on the roads. I hope you enjoy making your ice cream. Please send in some pictures. I'd love to see how it turns out. I hope it is tasty. And this is the last video that I'm actually going to be recording for you guys. I know that you've got 2 more this week, but it's the last time you've got one from Miss Moore. So I just want to say have a lovely, lovely summer break. You guys have been absolutely amazing at doing your work at home and sending it in. And while it's, you know, much more fun having you guys in class, I think you've done a really brilliant job. So thank you so much and have a lovely summer.